Good evening. This is the May 20th meeting of the Zoning Subcommittee of the Revere City Council. Madam Clerk?
Sure. First item on the agenda is a
We're going to
zoning...
call the roll.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Roll call of the zoning subcommittee members. Councilor Janino. Here. Here. Councilor Keefe.
Here.
Here. Councilor Novoselsky.
Here.
Here. Councilor Rizzo is absent. Councilor Guanasso. Here. Here. And Chairman Zambuto.
Here.
Here. A quorum is present. First item on the agenda is Council Order 19-063. This is a zoning ordinance amendment relative to telecommunications facilities on municipal buildings.
I'll open this up to my colleagues. Councilor McKenna, are you is this your motion or?
No, it's Councilor Keefe's motion.
Okay, I'm sorry. Councilor, you want to let Councilor Keefe go first? Councilor Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, in essence, we had brought this up, I believe, actually, Councilor Janino as well, in regards to having these facilities on top of any city-owned property. And we just wanted to make sure that, you know, in lieu of some of the issues that we're facing with the Revere Fire Department and their lack of willingness to want to have it on their property, and recognizing that this could be posed as a safety or health hazard to the employees there, we thought it would be a good opportunity to take this off the books moving forward so that we can stay away from any of these additional antennas on top of buildings. Obviously, if there are special needs and there's something that is brought to light, the council would always have the opportunity to reverse that decision or make a decision down the road. But this is something that would help protect anything new from going up in the future. Thank you.
So, Councilor Keefe, I just want to clarify, you know, I'm in agreement with the proposed ordinance. However, it's not just a simple thing. If something come up and we want to put one on a city building, we'd have to change the zoning ordinance again. You understand that?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
I just, you know, we like to be able to have some decision in the process. So if there was something to ever happen, it wouldn't be able to happen very quickly. So there would be plenty of input from the community, plenty of input from residents, plenty of input from employees that might be working in those buildings. So that would give us an opportunity to really put it through, rather than be put into a position where we had to put something through, because we know sometimes that can be the case.
I just wanted to be clear that once we pass this, it's pretty much in place and it won't go on any municipal buildings, period.
Yep.
Unless we came back for another zoning change, which is always possible, but a
Agreed.
long shot.
I'd be comfortable with that. Thank you.
Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, just a question through you to the clerk. Is this something that somebody could ask for a variance on?
No, as the ordinance only pertains to municipal buildings, so city-owned buildings.
So we couldn't give a variance for it to happen on a city-owned building, even though it's on there's an ordinance in the books?
The city council would be listing municipal buildings as prohibited locations, so no, you wouldn't be able to
Okay, just
get a variance.
double checking.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure there's no loopholes. Thank you. I think it's a good idea, Mr. Chairman. It's something we still have to protect our city workers, you know, give them a good quality of life, work life. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Novoselsky. Council President Guanasso.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's well within our rights, Mr. Chairman, and members of this committee to vote this within our community, based on the fact that we have other cities and towns that are looking at a similar situation, and certainly the town of Weston, where they removed a cell tower from a school. So it's only, in fact, if there is, we haven't got like the health status yet that we're requiring and hoping to get soon. But if there is some outside chance that maybe this is harmful to the health of our community, let's place a safeguard for all our municipal buildings to make sure that certainly the children are protected, and those people who work for the community, we need them so that keep them in good shape, so that this is a provision that I think that is a tremendous idea, and I think it's well within our rights to do so. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Council President Guanasso. Council Janino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm looking forward to seeing this pass, and I think that some of my colleagues mentioned a lot of the key points on it, but it's definitely something that there was a cry, of course, from our fire department that they don't want it on their buildings. And I think it just opened up a conversation that, well, if it's not safe to be on a fire department, it shouldn't be on a school, it shouldn't be on any building or municipality where there are people that the city's responsible for working. So I look forward to seeing this get up to the council tonight, and thank you for hearing it in your committee.
Thank you, Council Janino. Council McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know, I didn't read the article, but there was an article in the Boston Globe this week about Russia and China dominating the 5G cell towers and starting rumors in America that they were harmful to people's health, and they want to dominate the telecommunications. So I didn't read it. A bunch of people told me about it because they know I'm an activist on this. So if anybody can send me the article, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Council McKenna. Obviously, I'm in favor of not having these antennas on municipal buildings. It comes at an expense to the taxpayers. However, we certainly don't want to force people that work for the city, such as the firemen, to have a tower in their place, or for that matter, on City Hall or anywhere else, any other city building. So it looks like we'll ask for a roll call and vote this out favorably to the council as a whole. Thank you.
Roll call on the zoning ordinance amendment for telecommunications facilities on municipal buildings. Councilor Janino.
Here, yes.
Yes. Councilor Keefe.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Rizzo is absent. Councilor Guanasso.
Yes.
Yes. And Chairman Zambudo.
Yes.
Yes, this will be forwarded to the full city council with a favorable recommendation. Next item on the agenda is special permit request for mobility on Pleasant Street, C1903.
Councilors. Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I have a constituent in my ward that is into electronic magnetic fields. And he sent me all this history about the bad effects it has on childhood growth. And there's National Academy of Science, there's National Research Council, New England Journal of Medicine, and a case control study of childhood leukemia in Canada and electromagnetic fields in residences. International Journal of Cancer, there was a publication in it, and there's a meter, a smart utility meter that can be attached to your house and tell you how much radioactivity is in. So, there is a history in this, and they're called smart meters. And, I think it's something that we ought to look deeper into and, look into the safety of our neighborhoods. So, I don't think this should go anywhere.
So are you
we're
going to...
probably in violation already, but.
So are you going to submit this to the city clerk?
Yes, I will.
So that we can all get to see it?
But it's,
Okay, great. Thank you, Council Novoselsky. Council McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is in my ward, Pleasant Street, and I'm totally against this. It's in a neighborhood, and like I said, I do believe that these cause, they have microwave radiation, and I wouldn't want it on top of a pole across the street or next to my house. So I'm definitely not in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Council McKenna. Anyone else? Okay, this will remain a committee. There appears to be no further business for the zoning subcommittee, so thank you all for your attendance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Here, Ash.
Good evening, everyone. This is Monday, May 20th meeting of the Revere City Council Subcommittee on Appointments. At this time, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Roll call of the appointment subcommittee members. Counselor Keefe.
Here.
Here, Counselor McKenna.
Here.
Here, Counselor Morabito.
Here.
Here, Counselor Powers. Here, Counselor Guanasso.
Here.
Here, Chairwoman Janino.
Present.
Here, quorum is present.
The first item on our agenda this evening is the reappointment of Camdell Construction as a licensed drain layer. Is there anyone here this evening from that company? Anyone from Camdell? Just come up for the reappointment and state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, Louis Cavagnaro, 154 Salem Street, Boston, Mass.
So this is a reappointment. Are there any questions from the subcommittee? Any questions? Seeing and hearing none, this will be put favorably before the council of the whole this evening. You can see the clerk following the meeting to gather any paperwork. Thank you. Next item on our agenda was a late communication that we're going to take up in subcommittee so that it can go before the council this evening. And that is a communication from the mayor relative to the reappointment of Lauren D'Avila as a constable. If Lauren is here.
Lauren Davella, 7 Chair, Al Revere.
Are there any questions of the subcommittee or any city councilors that have any questions this evening? It's a reappointment. No? There are no questions from the body, so this will be reported favorably to the committee of the whole this evening. You can see the clerk for any paperwork you may have to submit following the meeting. Oh, she mailed it. Thank you. This concludes the city council's subcommittee on appointments. Thank you.
Good evening, and welcome to the Revere City Council meeting of May 20th, 2019. For those in the audience, would you please rise and join your Revere City Council in a salute to our flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice Madam Clerk?
Roll call of the members, Counselor Janino? Here. Here, Counselor Keefe?
Here.
Here, Counselor McKenna?
Here.
Here, Counselor Morabito?
Here.
Here, Counselor Novoselsky? Here, Counselor Patch is absent. Counselor Powers? Here, Counselor Rizzo? Here, Counselor Rotundo? Here, Counselor Zambudo? Here, and Council President Guanasso?
Here.
Here, quorum is present.
Prior to this evening's meeting, I had just another message out from Councilor Charles Patch. Again, he's home caring for his son, who needs his attention, and we certainly hope that Charlie gets his son back in order and himself back in order, and we're looking forward to the day that Charlie returns to our city council, and we really miss him. Thank you. And prior to, did you do a roll call yet? Okay. So prior to our public hearings, I would just like ask for a suspension of rules to take up calendar item number 17. Suspension of rules. All in favor, all opposed? So ordered. Rules are suspended. Madam
Calendar
Clerk?
item number 17, communication from the city auditor relative to the sick leave buyback appropriation.
I'm looking for the amended the new 17, the revised version. We have two issues here. I'm talking about the Veterans Affairs. 19-123.
Thank you. Calendar item number 16, communication from the Director of Veteran Services requesting approval of memorial poles for the following veterans: Basil Bova, World War II Army veteran; Joseph A. Festa, World War II Army veteran; Claude Mercurio, World War II Army veteran; Albert Champoli, World War II Army veteran; and Robert Kasha, Korean War veteran. The dedications will be held on a later date to be decided by the family and the Veterans Service Office.
Shall the City Council approve the installation of the Veterans Memorials as requested by the Director of Veterans Services? A roll call is in order. Okay, you want us? Okay, absolutely. Mr. Director.
Thank you, Council. I just wanted to come up and again, these are some great families that I always find myself saying at these memorial dedications when we have them. It shows in the reflection of their children. If you go through the names, Mr. Fester, what him and his family have done for this city. Mr. Champoli, what him and his son have done for this city and his children. His son was a cop, as we all know. The Mercurio family, what they continue to do for this city. All these men served in World War II. Funny thing about it, all of them were there relatively the same time, and I wonder if they were aware of that. Doing some research and looking at their times and dates, I come to get that we have we're recognizing them on Memorial Day. So actually, I spoke to Councilor Rizzo on Sunday about maybe combining the June 6th breakfast with Memorial Day. I think where we have the families together and honoring them in such a way on Memorial Day, it would be extra special on that day than just having a breakfast that they may not be able to get back to a week later. We'll still hold the motion. Councilor, please have a presentation ready for that day afterwards. And thank you.
I think it sounds like a great idea, and I thank you for putting forward this motion. All in favor? A roll call is in order.
Roll call on the installation of the memorial poles. Councilor Janino?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Keefe?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Morabito?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Patch is absent. Councilor Powers?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Rizzo?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Rotundo? Yes. Councilor Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Guanasso?
Yes.
Yes, the memorial pole installations have been approved.
While under suspension, we may take up calendar item number 18, 19-115.
Communication from the city auditor relative to the sick leave buyback fund appropriation.
Mr. Auditor?
Good evening, Council. The order before you is to appropriate money out of the sick leave buyback trust fund that you set up as part of last year's budget process to now fund those particular accounts of all the departments that had sick leave buyback per their collective bargaining agreement. So all we're asking for is a transfer of the money from the trust fund into the respective accounts. I'm here to answer any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Any questions? Shall the City Council appropriate $347,800 from the sick leave buyback stabilization fund to each department which had sick leave buyback expenditures? A roll call is ordered.
Counselor Janino?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Keith?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Morabito?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Patch is absent. Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Rizzo?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Rotundo?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Guanasso?
Yes.
Yes, the appropriation has been approved.
Communication number 19-122.
Communication from the city auditor relative to the free cash appropriation for the Workers' Compensation Insurance Fund.
Mr. Chairman of Ways and Means, would you like this into your committee before, this will be referred
Please,
over
Mr.
to
President.
this will be referred over to Ways and Means.
Thank you.
Return to the regular order of business.
Calendar item number 2, approval of the journal of the regular meeting of May 6, 2019. Approval of the journal of the
All in
regular
favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 3, hearing called as ordered on an ordinance amending the senior work-off property tax abatement program relative to eligibility.
Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Any proponents wishing to speak in favor of this? Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Dana Brancher-Forty, Chairman of the Revere Board of Assessors, 233 Proctor Ave, Revere. This is pretty self-explanatory, but essentially what we're looking to do is, over the last several years, we noticed that the number of applicants for the senior workout program have dwindled a little bit, and the number of seniors who qualify has dwindled as well, and that's the major factor to that is the income levels. So this council has already adopted a law for our other statutory senior exemptions where we can adjust every year the cost of living adjustment to that. So we just want to do the same thing with the senior workout program since no adjustment has been made. So I believe you should have a sheet that shows if we had implemented those increases over the years, what the result would be for now.
Thank you.
So,
Any other proponents? Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this? Any opponents? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Any councilors wishing to speak? Bearing in mind, councilors, that I was going to read this before we get into the public hearings, that all of these, the rest of the public hearings are going to be referred to subcommittees, and this is going to be referred to the Legislative Affairs Subcommittee. So I prefer if you keep your comments and you want to speak this evening, you keep them under 30 seconds because redundancy is not what we're trying to do here. We're just trying to get an orderly fashion. Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Mr. Brancher-Forty. Just so that the public knows, if you could hit the button. Thank you. How many years in aggregate are we accumulating to help meet a certain number?
So this was adopted 2001.
And what's the actual total income increase from point A to point B?
Sure. So we started at $45,000 for single individuals and $55,000 for married individuals. Compounding all of the cost of living adjustments would bring us to approximately $73,250 for a single and $89,528 for married.
And why didn't we do this last year or the year before?
Council, these are very appropriate questions, but I ask that they go to the subcommittee, and this is the nature of what we're trying to do. And I would going to refer this over to the Legislative Affairs Subcommittee. And all the questions that you have.
I believe I have 3 minutes, no?
Well, we're trying to send it to a subcommittee.
That's okay. It can go to subcommittee, and I can get my 3 minutes.
Continue, Counselor, and I wish
think
that
that's it.
you'd honor the chair's request, because what we're trying to do is make it as professional as possible and allow for all the questions you have for a subcommittee, because that's what they're established for. And
Well,
that's been my position since day one, and I think you know that.
No, but I agree, but we
Thank
also
you,
do
Counselor. Continue on. Thank you.
we also have rules of order, too. And part of that rule of order is for me to have my 3 minutes and also allow the public to see what's going on. And I think for the majority of people, that's what they do. They watch it
Counselor,
during
we
the council
have
meeting.
every hearing in the public. Any person coming to the podium or anyone wishing to speak on any issue can come to our subcommittee meetings. That's what they're here for. And that's as simple as that, nothing more, nothing less. Thank you, Counselor.
But that said, why didn't we do so last year or the year before?
I'm not sure, Counselor, to be perfectly honest with you. I wasn't involved in the process prior
was?
to becoming the chairman.
Okay.
Multiple people sit on the senior worker
All right,
program.
I'll ask that during the committee meeting accordingly.
Certainly.
But thank you.
Refer to Legislative Subcommittee.
Calendar item number 4, hearing called is ordered on an ordinance relative to trash collection.
Anyone,
That's a-
proponents, anyone wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? State your name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Mr. President, members of the council, Robert Mara, Mayor Rigo's Chief of Staff. Since this is going to the Legislative Affairs Committee as well, I presume.
That's correct.
The objective of this new ordinance is to bring the city's trash collection and recycling collection ordinances up to date with what the new trash bin program would require. So as you go through this and as you're developing questions on this, a lot of it adopts the existing ordinance with regard to bulky items and white goods and things like that. But a lot of it is redesigned so that people will be required to comply with the trash bin, the blue trash bins. There's also a provision for some commercial collection in here that is new. And it's mostly to bring our ordinances up to date so that now we can start enforcing the use of the city-issued trash bins.
Thank you. Any other proponents wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance?
Thank you.
Seeing none. Any opponents? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this ordinance? Any councilors wishing to speak? Councilor Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll keep it brief. This, to me, is going to probably add some teeth to non-existing laws. But one thing, just recently, this is some residents that weren't able to attend tonight. They were asking in regards to, quote-unquote dumpster diving, and, having that becoming a nuisance to them. I haven't necessarily had any problems with it, but some residents and neighbors don't like strangers picking through trash, and I know that there's metals and things like that they want to get, but they can still have that scheduled to have any heavy metals picked up to be recycled. So I would ask that we at some point, probably in the subcommittee, add the specifications to eliminate or to hold accountable, quote-unquote dumpster diving. We could probably find a better term, but I just wanted to bring that forward from some residents that called me and with concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we've had a couple of problems in Beachmont. We have hills, a lot of stairs with the new trash barrels. People are not taking them off the sidewalk, and they're leaving them on the sidewalk. And I just want to say that let's not use this as lazy, that we can't bring the barrels up, because I have 15 stairs in my house, and I bring the barrels up all the time. I don't leave them on the sidewalk. So I just don't want to lose sight of, these people can't bring up their barrels because they don't have room, or they don't have a place to put them, or they have too many stairs, because we can't use that as laziness. People can use that as laziness. And the thing is that once we start allowing people to put their trash barrels on the sidewalk and keeping them there, we're going to have a big problem aesthetically. We're going to run down the city. We need to keep that ordinance still tough. I understand. You and I have gone back and forth with this. We have to enforce it. we had 12 barrels on Endicott Ave. They left them on the street, the sidewalk for a month. And, you know, and ISD didn't want to fine them because they didn't have storage, but they did have storage. So we just can't lose sight of this. We can't say, okay, they can't put their barrels anywhere, so, you know, we'll let them leave it on the sidewalk. We can't do it. So that's, when we come to subcommittee and we go through this is where I want to get tough on leaving barrels on the street, on the sidewalk. Thank you.
Very quickly, Councilor Keefe's reference to dumpster diving, it's called scavenging in the ordinance. Section 806-041C prohibits it, and of course that's enforceable through ISD. With regard to Councilor McKenna's concerns, the previous ordinance required people to put their barrels behind their house. That does seem somewhat impractical in a lot of situations, so the new ordinance requires that barrels be placed, when not placed out for collection, as far out of the public view as is practical. And then, of course, everything else in terms of enforcement of the ordinance, when it's adopted, falls to ISD.
Refer to legislative affairs.
Calendar item number 5, hearing called is ordered on a loan order in the amount of $6.7 million for the Phase 10 construction CWSRF project number 4487.
Any proponents wishing to speak?
Good evening. I'm Don Chermella, Superintendent of the Water and Sewer and Drain Division. I live at 215 Rice Avenue, Revere. I'm a proponent of this funding because it has absolutely made a difference in the city. We have taken 1 million gallons of I&I out of the sewer system, and we've taken 1 million gallons of IDDE out of the stormwater system. So the numbers prove that the money that we've been spending has worked. And I welcome the subcommittee meeting to discuss it further.
Thank you. Any other proponents wishing to speak?
Yes, Joe Maglione, 70 Roosevelt Street. We've been doing this here for a great deal of years, and we have seen the difference, and I'd like to hope that everybody does see to fund this project to keep it moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other proponents wishing to speak? Anyone speaking in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none, anyone in opposition? Anyone wishing to speak as an opponent? Seeing none, city councilors. This is going to go to Ways and Means Subcommittee.
Calendar item number 6, hearing called is ordered on a loan order in the amount of $1.5 million for Phase 11 field investigations, CWSRF planning project number 4532.
Any proponents wishing to speak? Anyone speaking in favor of this ordinance?
Again, Don Chermella, Water and Sewer. The investigation part of this funding is extremely important. It's how we find these illicit connections, and we need to take more of this illicit inflow out of the system. So it's absolutely imperative that we fund this program.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this? This is a loan request. Anyone like to speak up? Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Joe Maglione, 70 Roosevelt Street, Water and Sewer Department. We have taken a lot out throughout the years. It's proven to be working. And like I said before, I'd like to see this keep funding and move forward with this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone opposed to this loan order? Councilors. Councilor Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just have a question for Mr. Maglione. We look to your guidance a lot, and you're obviously a tax-paying resident of the city. And I just have to ask you, this has been, the illicit connections and the investigations have been going on for some time. Do you find this, do you truly find this worthy? Is it something that, is there going to be a light at the end of the tunnel? Is there going to be an end to this at some point where we get to the bottom of all these illicit connections?
We're hoping. We're taking out as many as we can, as long as the people comply, and when we leave, they don't put them back in. It's absolutely.
So do you see this as money well spent?
Yes, and you can see the difference in the soars and the flows.
Thank you. Appreciate your information.
Council Rizzo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know this will go to Ways and Means Subcommittee. But in preparation for that meeting, I'd like to ask, I see the auditor here, I'd like to know how much money has been spent since we signed the consent decree with the Department of Justice for all the various loan orders, so that all the council is participating in that meeting will know what the city has spent, and maybe a debt service schedule, because we are borrowing this money. So I'd like to know where we're at, what it's costing us each and every year. That's really all that I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank
Just
you.
we go on to your subcommittee. Refer to Ways and Means.
Calendar item number 7, hearing called is ordered on the application of Emerald Business Enterprises, Inc., DBA Roadway Inn, 309 American Legion Highway, Revere, Mass., seeking permission from the Revere City Council to develop a private parking lot consisting of 14 parking spaces on lots 20 and 22 Tuttle Street, Revere, Mass., to serve the applicant's hotel located at 309 American Legion Highway.
Proponents, state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Mr. President and members of the Honorable City Council of the City of Revere. This evening I represent Emerald Business Enterprises, Inc. My name is Lawrence A. Simeone, Jr. I have a law office at 300 Broadway, Revere, Massachusetts. Emerald Business Enterprises, Inc., DBA Roadway Inn, is located at 309 American Legion Highway. We seek a special permit to develop a private parking lot on zero Tuttle in the RB District in accordance with 1716-320 of the Revere ordinances, along with a recommendation for a modification of Section A. The particular lot in mind, the locus, if you will, is 4,500 square feet, consists of Lot 20 and 22, Tuttle Street in the RB District. The project consists of developing a 14 spaces parking area to be accessory to the hotel. It shall have a catch basin system as required by the engineering department and a subsurface detention system that will meet the 100-year standard for flooding. We'll also have screening in the particular project, which will include fencing on both sides of the particular parking lot, along with screening and shrubbery in the rear. I draw your attention, Mr. President and members of the council, that I provided to the city clerk the 2012 plan and decision of this honorable body to a proposal that my client sought back then. You'll find that the plan that was developed and approved by this honorable body is the exact style and plan. It was 4,500 square feet. It had 14 parking spaces. I'd ask at this time that you consider allowing modification of the screening as you did back in 2012 within your purview, and that you have this matter go to the subcommittee on zoning. I stand ready to answer any questions the council has.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other proponents wishing to speak? Seeing none, any proponents? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing none, councilors. Since I represent this particular area, I look forward to seeing more of it and talking with the zoning chairperson and the chair and people at the zoning subcommittee.
Thank you,
First,
Mr.
the
President.
zoning subcommittee. Councilor Zambudo.
Obviously, it's going to my committee. I thank you, Council President. I will say that the proponent or the proprietor of the Roadway Inn has a reputation here, and I'm inclined to no, you can't vote it tonight. It's a special permit, thanks to my rule. However, this would have been one of those instances I'd be tempted to vote the same night. But obviously, we know the history of this parcel, this hotel that used to be a flop house and was turned into a choice hotel in the It makes us all proud, and he's done this with another parcel to keep cars off the street, which is what we want to do. And so I look forward to hearing all the details in the zoning subcommittee and approving it. Thank you.
We look forward to your subcommittee meeting. Refer to zoning subcommittee.
Calendar item number 8, hearing called is ordered on the petition of National Grid to excavate, run, and maintain underground electrical conduits, together with such sustaining and protecting fixtures as it may find necessary for the transmission of electricity on Ward Street, Revere, Mass., in accordance with Plan Number 265-92278.
Shall the City Council approve the petition of National Grid to install electric proponents? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Must have been a mental lapse. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this proposal? Seeing none. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this proposal? Seeing none. Since there's no one in here to represent this, I refer this over to subcommittee. Zoning. And we send them a notification telling them that we had a public hearing and that they didn't send any representation here to present themselves.
Next is the zoning subcommittee report.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Obviously, the zoning subcommittee met earlier this evening. There were 2 items on the agenda. One was an ordinance further amending the zoning ordinance of the City of Revere, 2 towers and telecommunication facilities on municipal buildings. This was heard and discussed and voted out favorably from the subcommittee, and I would ask for a roll call vote.
The Planning Board issued a favorable recommendation for this ordinance. Ordered to a second reading. All in favor? All opposed? So ordered. Ordered to a third and final reading. All in favor? All opposed? So ordered. For engrossment and endangerment. Shall the City Council approve an ordinance further regulating the installation of telecommunication facilities on municipal buildings? Roll call.
Councilor Janino.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Keefe.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Morabito.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Patch is absent. Councilor Powers.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Rizzo.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Rotundo.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Zambudo.
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Guanasso.
Yes.
Yes, the ordinance is engrossed and ordained.
Mr. Chairman.
The second item, Mr. President, was for Mobile Light LLC, which is a small cell antenna that will remain in committee.
At the chairman's request, it's going to remain in committee.
Next is the Appointments Subcommittee report.
Councilor Janino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. President, earlier this evening, the Appointment Subcommittee met, and we had a very brief meeting. There were 2 items on our agenda, the first of which was a reappointment of Camdell Construction as a licensed drain layer. The second, we took up out of the council meeting and heard in my appointments meeting, and that was a communication from the mayor relative to the reappointment of Lauren Diavola as a licensed constable. These were both voted out unanimously in favor, and I hope that we can put them before the council this evening.
On the
Thank
request of the chair of appointments, all in favor, all opposed, so ordered.
Calendar item number 13, communication from the mayor regarding ETP funds.
Shall the City Council approve the appropriation from the ETP fund in the amount of $8,000 for 4 $2,000 ETP scholarships? Roll call is in order.
Councilor Janino.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Keefe.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Morabito.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Patch is absent. Councilor Powers.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Rizzo. Yes. Councilor Rotundo. Yes. Councilor Zambudo.
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Guanasso.
Yes.
Yes, the appropriation has been approved. Calendar item number 14, communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of Lorraine Piera to the Library Board of Trustees.
Refer to Appointment Subcommittee.
Calendar item number 15, communication from the mayor relative to the appropriation of free cash to an emergency fund.
At the request of the Chair of Ways and Means, this is going to be referred to the Ways and Means Subcommittee.
Do we know what specifically that was? Is that the Capic money?
No, this is for $60,000.
Yeah, that's
for
the Capic.
For establishing an emergency fund.
That's the Capic appropriation.
Yes.
I think we discussed that ad infinitum, didn't we, Mr. Chairman?
As the chairman, Chair of Ways and Means, we
I'm asking the chairman of Ways and Means.
I'm at,
I didn't know you were directing that question to me.
I was, because I thought we
I
discussed...
supported the motion to
Yeah.
put the 60,000 over
Yeah.
to Capic, so I don't have a problem
Great.
if this
Do you want to vote
doesn't
on
go
this?
to committee. It's a $60,000 appropriation that we know is going to go to
Absolutely.
good use, so I don't have a problem if,
we can vote it out this evening.
Once you get voted out tonight.
Absolutely. Everyone's in agreement with that anyway. Everyone
Thank you.
voted for it. A roll call, Madam Clerk, is in order.
Shall the City Council approve an appropriation from free cash in the amount of $60,000 for the purpose of establishing an emergency fund? Councilor Janino.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Keefe.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor McKenna.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Morbido.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Novoselsky.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Patch is absent. Councilor Powers.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Rizzo.
yes.
Yes, Councilor Rotundo. Yes, Councilor Zambudo.
Yes.
Yes, and Council President Guanasso.
Yes.
Yes, the appropriation has been approved. Calendar item number 16, communication from the mayor, from the city auditor relative to the free cash appropriation for snow and ice.
Councilor Rizzo, would you like this to go into your subcommittee, or would you like us to vote on this evening?
Yeah, Mr.
I think it's kind of
Mr.
large.
Mr. President, despite the large amount of money, unless we're going to be disputing individual bills from people who've done the work, I think we need to get the bills paid, and I'd rather see the contractors get paid than be held up in committee. So I have no problem if you don't
You're
have
the
any
chair,
issues
Mr.
with
Chairman. You're
it.
right,
I just
yes.
assume, I'm going to trust that these bills have been verified, and that, you know, all invoices have been reviewed, and that it'll be paid in accordance with practices that you know, that the city uses to pay these contractors. So,
Just to be clear, the contractors have been paid. We're allowed to pay them through the Mass General Law. This is just to fund the deficit because we have paid them.
so this money has already been paid. You haven't held up any invoices then?
No, we haven't had any of it. What we're doing is we had a budget. The law allows us to overspend.
It was overspent. I
So
get it.
now
I
we're
get
just,
it.
now we're just bringing that account back to the black so we can close.
So
the
that
books.
money's spent, so there's no
Money's
reason to
spent.
debate it, Mr. President. I think we just need to replenish it. So I have no problem voting it out tonight.
Thank you very much.
Okay, on the appropriation, shall the City Council approve an appropriation in the amount of $345,000 from the free cash to cover the FY 2019 snow and ice deficit? Roll call is in order.
On the motion, Councilor Janino.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Keefe.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor McKenna.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Morbido.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Novoselsky.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Patch is absent. Councilor Powers.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Rizzo.
Yes,
Yes, Councilor Rotundo.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Zambudo.
Yes.
Yes, and Council President Guanasso.
Yes.
Yes, the appropriation has been approved.
17 and 18 have been taken. 19.
On to motions. Calendar item number 20. Motion presented by Councilors McKenna and Powers that the mayor send a letter to the MBTA to remove an enormously large "We Sell Ugly Houses" banner that has been hanging for the last 2 months from the top of the Wonderland Garage. Revere has a new ordinance created a year ago banning billboards and advertising signs, 17.06.060, defines advertising sign as a sign that advertises a product, service, or business, whether or not sold or conducted on the premises upon which the sign is located, including billboards. Councilor Zambudo is recused from this motion.
Council McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. So They got a digital sign before the ordinance came out for billboards, banning billboards, but just recently, they put a 10 by 12 sign hanging on the top of their garage that says, we sell ugly houses. So I just think that we have an ordinance, they put it in after the ordinance was approved, and I would like them to take it down. Thank you.
Council Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to take it one step further and have some individuals from the MBTA come up here and explain the rationale of putting that sign up there, why they just went ahead and put it up. My understanding was when that garage was built, there was going to be one billboard heading south in the southern lane from Berlin area, and now we turn around and the wording on the billboard is personally offensive to me. And I'd like to have the mayor request someone come up here from the MBTA and let's resolve this matter once and for all and find out under what law or rule they think they can operate and do this. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Morabito.
Thank you, Mr. President. Honestly, I seen this last week, and my first thought was, this looks sloppy. It doesn't even look like it's professionally hung. It was professionally hung, so I'm not even sure. At first, I thought someone maybe drove to the top of the garage and just draped it over, so I'm not even sure if MBTA knows about this, because it does not look professionally hung. If you look at it, I guarantee someone just draped it over, because it doesn't even look like it's sturdy or a fixture on the building, the way it waves. So that's something we should look into.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Janino.
Thank you, Mr. President. The ordinance that Councilor McKenna referred to is something that our colleague Bob Hass really pushed, and it was something that I was proud to help see come to fruition. And I hope that it can help to alleviate issues like this that should have never happened. So this is a perfect case of where something was too big and very poorly kept, and I hope that we can get rid of it because it's a blight in our community. And the city's working so hard to get the number of billboards down because, as we all know, we're one of the highest in the North Shore. So I hope that we can get rid of this and hopefully with ISD do anything that we can to find them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I understood the sentiment from Councilor Morabito, and I felt the same way when I first saw it, but I'd be really scared to find out that the MBTA wouldn't know that that's been up for a few weeks. I mean, that would be even more scary to know that they have properties that they would allow that to happen. But on top of this, so obviously we would want to get that removed. On top of it, we see the We Buy Houses and We Buy Ugly Houses signs all over telephone poles around the city, so I'm not sure if Councilor McKenna would be allow me to add, can we have the city ISD go around and have these removed at the cost of the people putting up the billboards? I just want to use a small example. I bought my house in 2004, and prior to me buying the home, the people living there had a garage sale, and they were selling some leftover goods. The house was fined $50 for having an inappropriate garage sale or yard sale sign on the post. The house was fined. I found out 3 years later it turned out to be a $300 lien on my property because of a yard sale sign. But you go around of course we got it straightened out, and there was no ill intentions. But we have these all over our city. Every telephone pole you drive by, you see a banner. We buy ugly houses, we do this, we do that. They should be ripped off. Outside of the National Guard ones, those are the only ones I have no problem with. Those are the only ones I would say leave them alone. They're representing our country. But all those signs should be removed. I think that the IST should go around, remove the signs, and charge back the companies that are putting them up. Thank you.
Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I was shocked when I saw it, but we have to look at reality here, too. Number one, the MBTA may own the property, but they lease the property out for operation purposes. So I believe it's probably the management company that allowed that sign to be put up. It's a lot larger than 10 by 12, I'll tell you that. And, but I don't mind that the city go out and send the management company in the MBTA. But the MBTA are fine for violating our ordinance. You know, it's an ugly sign to say the least, besides being for ugly houses. But, you know, and for something that it's in Ward 2, I would have thought that I would have been offered to be part of this motion. Thank you.
Thank you,
Point of
Councilor.
information,
State your point.
I apologize. I thought it was John Powers, so I gave it to John Powers. But I always tried to share my motions, so I apologize to Councilor Novoselsky.
I don't think he's going to accept your apology. Councilor Rotundo.
This is going to burst your bubble. It's state-owned property, and there's nothing we can do about it. I said it's a state-owned property, and there is nothing we can do about it. I believe we had this issue in the past. We had asked them not to put up a certain sign. In fact, we asked them not to designate that entire building for billboards, and they said, too bad, we are a state-owned entity, and we are going to do what we want to do. In fact, the beautification committee lobbied the state, as did I, and I believe several other people here, and perhaps this might refresh your memory. But we can't touch it. We can't do anything.
Councilor, I fully agree with you. I was part of that
sad.
group, and I was made aware of the fact
kills me.
that they're an entity that we can't deal with. But the injustice to the whole process is that they're leasing it to a private concern. So in my opinion, it no longer becomes public property. It's now private enterprise out there making money on that garage. So I agree with you. I was very angered by the same situation that you're speaking of, and so I just think we just keep going forward with this, and maybe we get our state legislation group involved. Speaker DeLeo, Representative Vincent, and Senator Boncory, to see that this is sort of an injustice to our community. And I think that there's got to be some way that we can rectify this. We have two stations within our grips here, and we're not getting anything from it. Thank you. All in favor? All opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 21, motion presented by Councilor Rotundo, that the mayor provide the city council with information related to cybersecurity for the city's critical infrastructure, backup plans, and if we carry insurance for such issue.
Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you. As this becomes a greater problem throughout society, I'm just wondering if we're prepared for it. And if we have redundancies within our system, more importantly, what do we have to protect our critical infrastructure to include backup systems within the city? I know that Glenn DeRosa one time told me that we have something in the cloud and so forth, but even that's penetrable. So I'm just wondering what we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other councilors wishing to speak? All in favor? All opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 22, motion presented by Councilor Rotundo, that the mayor request the chief of police to provide the city council with a numerical record of all criminal citations issued from 2010 to present, and number of arrests from the same time period. Further, that the mayor be requested to meet an executive session related to the city's policing policy.
Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you. I will say it speaks for itself. I will thank Captain Guido for reaching out to me. Excuse me, let me finish. Chief Guido, I apologize. And my faux pas. But that said, he had reached out to me. He's going to try and get me the information, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Okay, all in favor? All opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 23, motion presented by Councilor Rotundo, that the mayor request state officials to fund the connecting of the Blue Line and Red Line.
Councilor Rotundo.
This is something that is way past due. I know that it has been spoken about at one point. We need to connect the brains of, our brain trust here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to the beach. It'll help with commerce, but more importantly, it'll help us get to one part of the city, and it will help the city come to breathe there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor
Mr.
Rizzo.
President, with Councilor Rotundo.
Councilor Rizzo.
Okay. Pardon me?
Councilor Rizzo.
Councilor Rizzo, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to support the motion. I mean, obviously, our Our public transportation is becoming more and more critical as the city gets more and more crowded, more and more traffic coming through our city because of all these new developments. And if we don't start to invest in public transportation, the city will become even more gridlocked than it is today. I just went to a meeting last week down on Ocean Avenue where yet another 1,400 units are being proposed, 5 or 6 different developers sitting there offering their presentations. And then after they all presented about their projects, Bob O'Brien got up and said, we're going to do a traffic study. And that seems like it probably should have went in reverse, but nonetheless, a traffic study will be done at some point to talk about the traffic. And while we can talk about its regional traffic all day long, and I'm not denying that it is, which is why I'm speaking on this motion, that it is a good motion. We need to expand our public transportation. But I think we really need to take a serious look at what we're doing here with respect to development in this city. We cannot handle any more residential development. And, you know, I was talking to somebody up in Beverly who thinks that there's a chance that somehow the Blue Line will be extended not only to Lynn, but all the way up to their area. Now, I don't know where that money's coming from, because the takings would have to be immense in order to get up to Beverly. I couldn't even imagine that happening, certainly not in my lifetime. I don't know in whose lifetime, but we're going to have to start making these investments in public transportation. We're not going to do it on the Revere City Council, but I just want to commend Councilor Rotundo for at least bringing it up, you know, and having that conversation, because, you know, I see it firsthand. The more, you know, residential units we have, the more traffic we have, the higher our insurance rates go. It's a problem. We need to get it under control, and one way to do that is to invest in public transportation. So hopefully we can get the conversation going with our state and federal delegation. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to commend Councilor Rotundo on that motion. And I'd like to add to it that a communication also be sent to the MBTA and the Governor of the Commonwealth and the chairman of the, who is Senator Boncory, chairman of the Transportation Committee in the Senate. As we all know, 1A, the Boulevard, 107 are impacted every single day of the week. And some days during the week, much more than others. I agree that traffic, most of it, 95% of it, is probably regional traffic. However, we have the perfect opportunity to put a commuter stop in the back of Wonderland, as was mentioned in the transportation bond bill 7 years ago, where they walk over to the Blue Line. This would do several things. It would take traffic off of 1A, take traffic off 107, off of the Boulevard. It would also provide transportation for people that are coming from the North Shore, any of those cities and towns north of Revere, and there are many, that want to go to the new development at Suffolk Downs. Perfect stop. Take your commuter line right to Wonderland, get off and go 2 stops to Beachmont or 3 stops to Suffolk Downs. That's the answer. We can't afford anymore to keep flooding our highways and our byways with traffic. And the way to do that is Lynn has 2 commuter stops. Salem has a commuter stop. Swampscott has a commuter stop. Chelsea has a commuter stop, but none in Revere. And I think it's time that changed and to give the people in this city a little breath of fresh air. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, you know, although I agree with this, this is not a new thing. This has been going on since Mayor Ambrosino was in our administrative offices. And it was promised to be done back then, and then something went wrong, and they withdrew all their proposals. I used to work right over where that line is that connects the Blue Line and the Red Line. And I think it's an easy fix, not easy to do, but it's a political thing. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to affect traffic. I think it's just going to allow our people that use the Blue Line to be able to get to Kendall Square. Remember, this is in Boston. This is happening in Boston, right in Government Center. And I just think it's not going to affect our traffic at all. It's going to be our people using the Blue Line and wanting to get to Cambridge. That's the bottom line. But I know Senator Boncory's been on it. I know the Speaker's been on it. And I know Representative Vincent's been on it. And, it's nice that we put our 2 cents in and say we'd like to see it happen. But it's a big political ball, and we are small peanuts as far as that ball is concerned. So I will vote for it, and because I think it's a good thing to happen, but, it's a long wait. And the commuter rail definitely has to happen. I know that's going to hopefully be part of the Wonderland project when we do ever get anything going there. But that's a key thing. I don't think you'll ever see the Blue Line go to Lynn. Like was said, the amount of takings that are involved and the infrastructure that has to be done, it's a black hole. They'll never ever see that. So commuter rail is the answer to extending the Blue Line. Thank you.
I think I take a different view on this. I think that the encouragement to ridership would improve tremendously if we did have a connector to the Red Line, for sure. I mean, so it would encourage people to say, well, what's the sense of me taking the Blue Line to a certain, and I have to stop at Government Center, and that's where my journey ends. Now, if you continue on, it might be a tremendous impact there. So I think this is a good motion to get something going in that direction, and I think myself it's a positive. Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you. In fact, the BSA, as well as at that time it was before Anya Presley, Congressman Capuano and Frederick Salvucci, who's to head up the Department of Transportation, they were actually pushing for this. In fact, there was a communication that was sent to, I believe at that time, Omar Bukele, to actually push Massport into getting their support to push this particular project. So Ira is right, it is a political football, but we have all the political players here. I can't see why we can't continue to push this issue. And in fact, my understanding is part of it is actually to bring the Red Line directly to the airport. But how they do that, I don't know, but that was what was in their communication.
We'd be happy with a little piece of the pie rather than the whole pie. On the motion, all in favor, all opposed, so ordered.
Calendar item number 24, motion presented by Councilor Rotundo, that the mayor provide the city council with a copy of the 2016 draft Wonderland RFP.
Councilor Rotundo.
Speaks for itself.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed, so ordered.
One late motion has been withdrawn by Councilor Rotundo, and there's no further business, Councilor.
No further business? Well, I just want to offer this out to the residents of our community, that where Memorial Day is coming upon us. I wish we all get out there and observe and pay our respects to all our fallen heroes, and certainly honor them on Memorial Day, and have a safe and happy holiday. We will stand adjourned until June 3rd. Thank you for attendance.